Hello Dub Nation, it's always a thrill to connect with you, especially as we're about to reveal the latest news that could shape the fate of our beloved Golden State Warriors. But before we dive into this whirlwind of information, let me make a friendly request. Show us some love by clicking the like button to strengthen our bond, and hey, if you are not subscribed yet, join our channel for a thrilling and emotional journey. Don't forget to turn on notifications to stay ahead of the game.
Jonathan Kuminga is creating the kind of problem the Warriors could only dream of. Sometimes, having a problem is a luxury, and that's exactly what the Golden State Warriors are facing with Jonathan Kuminga right now. At the moment, Kuminga and the Warriors seem perfectly in sync, which feels almost ironic considering how uncertain things looked for him during the offseason as he headed into free agency. Now, Kuminga is delivering exactly what Golden State has always hoped for, and in return, he's finally getting the role and minutes he's been craving. It's the kind of mutual payoff every team dreams about, and it's creating a good kind of dilemma for the Warriors, one they likely envisioned when they signed the young forward to a 2-year, $48.5 million extension earlier this month. Kuminga's value is skyrocketing. Kuminga isn't just helping the Warriors win games, he's dramatically increasing his own market value with every performance. That, however, presents a new challenge for Golden State. Many around the league had assumed a trade might be inevitable once he becomes eligible to be moved again on January 15th. But here's the truth. If Kuminga keeps playing at this level and the Warriors keep stacking up wins, it's hard to imagine the front office taking the risk of breaking that momentum by trading their most promising young talent. Of course, things in the NBA are rarely that simple. Kuminga's surge, and the boost it gives to Golden State's overall value, could open the door to trade opportunities the team hadn't even considered before. Rival teams might start making players available who weren't on the radar a month ago. The best kind of dilemma. As Kuminga's name rises, the list of players the Warriors would even consider swapping him for is shrinking fast. At the same time, that might create an entirely new list of high-impact targets who could become attainable without the Warriors needing to part with so many future draft picks. Sure, it's a problem for Golden State to solve, but it's a far better situation than the alternative, Kuminga struggling to find minutes and losing all trade value in the process. Right now, his performance makes it increasingly unlikely that Golden State will pull the trigger on any blockbuster mid-season trade. Moving Kuminga, or franchise cornerstones like Draymond Green, Jimmy Butler, or Stephen Curry, just doesn't make sense. That limits what the front office can realistically offer in potential deals, but it also speaks volumes about how valuable Kuminga has become. A rising star and a growing opportunity. One thing's certain, Kuminga's breakout is turning heads across the league. His growth doesn't just give the Warriors options, it gives them leverage. And for a team chasing another title while balancing the future, that's exactly the kind of problem they've always wanted to have. Jonathan Kuminga is creating the kind of problem the Warriors have always wanted. Since Jonathan Kuminga signed his new 2-year, $48.5 million contract with the Golden State Warriors, the narrative around him has completely shifted. What once felt like uncertainty and frustration during the preseason has turned into confidence and purpose. Today, the young forward has become one of the main reasons for optimism within the franchise. Kuminga has been delivering consistent, high-impact performances. He's averaging around 16 points per game, shooting over 50% from the field and 43% from beyond the arc, numbers that reflect a level of offensive maturity we hadn't seen from him before. More importantly, his defensive commitment has stood out, earning public praise from veteran Draymond Green for his growth and ability to impact the game on both ends of the floor. Golden State's new luxury dilemma. Kuminga's rise has created an interesting situation for the Warriors. He is simultaneously one of the team's most important contributors and one of its most valuable assets. That combination presents a dilemma. Should the team lock him in as a key part of its future, or consider moving him if a major trade opportunity arises? Beginning January 15th, Kuminga will once again be eligible to be traded. However, if he continues playing at this level and the team keeps winning, it's hard to imagine Golden State risking its chemistry by moving him. Simply put, the better he plays, the harder it becomes to picture the Warriors without him. On the other hand, his rising value opens doors that were once closed. If trade opportunities involving star players or strategic roster upgrades emerge, the Warriors will hold a powerful bargaining chip. Kuminga's performance not only elevates the team on the court, but also strengthens the front office's leverage in potential negotiations. The domino effect inside the locker room. Kuminga's development has also shifted the internal balance of the roster. Head coach Steve Kerr now faces the challenge of managing minutes and roles between veterans and younger talents. With Stephen Curry, Draymond Green, and new rotation pieces such as Al Horford in the mix, finding the right fit for Kuminga without disrupting the team's rhythm is a constant puzzle. Still, the consensus within the organization is clear. Kuminga is no longer just a promising prospect. He's become a legitimate force. His recent appearance among the league's top 100 players only confirms what many inside Golden State already know. His potential has turned into production. A turning point for the Warriors. All of this places the Warriors at a critical crossroads. If Kuminga keeps progressing, Golden State will have developed an elite player from within, something rare for a team that's been contending for titles for nearly a decade. But if his performance dips or his role becomes uncertain, the risk of his value dropping returns to the conversation. Right now, the Warriors are facing the best kind of problem a franchise can have, a young player exceeding expectations, demanding more responsibility, and forcing the team to rethink its future direction. Whether they keep him as a cornerstone of the next era or explore his market value, Jonathan Kuminga is undeniably reshaping the future of Golden State. Moses Moody may have finally cracked the code, and that could change everything for the Warriors. Moses Moody might have finally figured it out. And if he has, the Golden State Warriors might just be a real contender again. For Golden State, the equation is simple. If Moody can stay efficient even when his offense isn't clicking, the Warriors' ceiling rises dramatically. He doesn't need to be a high-volume scorer or the next offensive star. He just needs to be reliable. And based on what we've seen so far this season, he's starting to become exactly that. In the Warriors' recent win over the Los Angeles Clippers, Moody wasn't spectacular on paper. But he hit key threes, played smart, disciplined defense, and made winning plays. Those are the kinds of performances championship teams depend on. The subtle but crucial evolution of Moses Moody. Moody might never become the ultra-aggressive offensive threat some fans hoped for when he was drafted 14th overall in 2021. But in this version of the Warriors, he might not need to be. Every shot he makes, every defensive stop he delivers, it all fills the gaps around the stars. And right now, that's exactly what Golden State needs. This season, Moody has shown flashes of what happens when everything starts to click. Before Thursday night's matchup against the Orlando Magic, he had appeared in only 3 games, missing the first 2 of the year. Since returning, though, he's made his presence felt. His best showing so far came against the Memphis Grizzlies, where he dropped 20 points in an easy Warriors win. He added 2 rebounds, an assist, a steal and a block, while shooting 6-for-10 from the field and a scorching 5-for-7 from 3. But it was the game against the Clippers that may have revealed something more meaningful. Even when the shots weren't falling early, Moody stayed engaged. He played nearly 22 minutes off the bench and held the Clippers to just 1-for-5 shooting when he was the primary defender, including 0-for-1 from deep. He even spent nearly 3 minutes guarding Kawhi Leonard, who managed just 1 bucket in 2 attempts against him. Finding his place, and his purpose. Since joining the Warriors, Moody's role has been unpredictable. Expectations have followed him since draft night, when Golden State selected him as a lottery pick, a player many believed could be part of the team's bridge to the future. That kind of pressure can weigh on a young player, especially in a locker room filled with champions like Stephen Curry, Draymond Green, and now Jimmy Butler. But Moody seems to be embracing a different kind of growth, one that doesn't always show up in the box score. He's learning how to be valuable even when he isn't lighting up the stat sheet. He's defending without fouling, spacing the floor, moving the ball, and making the small, quiet plays that win games in April, May, and June. A quiet key to the Warriors' future. If Moody can maintain this balance, contributing efficiently on both ends, even in off nights, he might become one of the most important X factors for Golden State this season. His maturity and adaptability are starting to show, and that's exactly what the Warriors need as they navigate a new phase of their dynasty. Moses Moody may never be the flashiest name on the roster. But if he continues to embrace his role and make an impact in all the little ways that matter, he could end up being one of the biggest reasons why the Warriors find themselves back in championship contention. The ripple effect of Moody's growth. What makes Moody's recent performances so meaningful isn't just the box score, it's what they represent for the Warriors' identity. For years, Golden State has thrived on balance. The selfless star power of Stephen Curry, the defensive edge of Draymond Green, and the steady rhythm of players who know when to step up. Moody is beginning to fit perfectly into that equation. His teammates have noticed it too. Within the locker room, Moody has earned quiet respect for his patience and work ethic. Coaches often point out how rarely he forces plays, even in moments when younger players might try too hard to make something happen. That maturity is what's keeping him on the floor, and might be what keeps the Warriors' system stable as they blend veterans and developing talent. Golden State has been searching for consistency from its bench since the departure of key role players over the past few years. Players like Moody, Jonathan Kuminga, and Brandon Podziemski now carry that responsibility. Among them, Moody's growth stands out because it shows he's starting to understand exactly what the team needs from him: reliable shooting, disciplined defense, and trust. The shift in Golden State's rotation. Steve Kerr has always preached adaptability, and Moody's rise is testing that philosophy in real time. After inconsistent minutes in past seasons, he's now forcing his way into meaningful rotations. Kerr recently hinted that Moody's minutes will continue to increase if he maintains his defensive consistency, something that's been a defining factor in the Warriors' early season turnaround. The timing couldn't be better. With veterans like Klay Thompson and Draymond Green managing their workloads, the Warriors need younger players to take on more responsibility without sacrificing the team's defensive identity. Moody's ability to defend multiple positions and stretch the floor gives Kerr more flexibility to experiment with smaller, faster lineups, something that has been a hallmark of Golden State's success for nearly a decade. Learning from the core. Playing alongside legends like Curry and Green isn't always easy for a young player. The expectations are high, the room for error is small, and the scrutiny is constant. But Moody seems to be learning the right lessons. Curry's leadership and Draymond's competitiveness have shaped the way he approaches each game: calm under pressure, disciplined in execution, and focused on details. Those lessons are starting to show. In previous seasons, Moody's impact often came in short bursts: a big shot here, a defensive stop there. Now, his contributions are stretching across entire games. He's staying engaged, communicating on defense, and showing a veteran-like understanding of spacing and tempo. Why it matters. For the Warriors, the rise of a player like Moody is more than a pleasant surprise, it's a necessity. As the franchise transitions from the peak of its dynasty into a new competitive window, internal development becomes the difference between fading quietly and staying relevant. Moody's emergence gives Golden State another dimension: a player young enough to grow with the next era, but mature enough to contribute right now. The front office has been patient with him, even through inconsistent stretches. Now, that patience is starting to pay off. His defensive efficiency and improved decision-making have made him one of the most dependable members of the second unit, and possibly one of the keys to sustaining the Warriors' title hopes deep into the season. The next step. Consistency will be the true test. Moody has shown flashes before, but what separates role players from cornerstones is the ability to perform night after night, regardless of circumstances. If he can continue defending at this level while maintaining shooting efficiency, he could cement himself as a long-term piece in Golden State's rotation. It's a quiet evolution, but one that carries enormous weight. Because if Moses Moody keeps playing this way, calm, focused, and efficient, the Warriors won't just have found another contributor. They'll have rediscovered a core principle that made them great in the first place: trust in player development, and belief in the value of doing the small things right. Warriors face a major off-season dilemma after exercising Brandon Podziemski's option. As expected, the Golden State Warriors have officially exercised the fourth-year option on guard Brandon Podziemski's rookie contract, a move that sets the stage for a much tougher decision next off-season, when the 22-year-old becomes eligible for a long-term extension. Since bursting onto the scene in his rookie year, Podziemski has quickly proven himself as one of the most reliable young pieces in Golden State's rotation. Yet, the value of his next deal remains one of the biggest question marks on the Warriors' horizon, and it's unlikely to get much clearer before negotiations begin. A young star on the rise, but a complicated future ahead. After a slow start last preseason, Podziemski became virtually a full-time starter after the All-Star break, anchoring one of the team's most effective lineups that helped push Golden State into the playoffs and even into the second round. But his role this season isn't set in stone. Following Tuesday's win over the Los Angeles Clippers, head coach Steve Kerr confirmed that the fifth starting spot remains up for grabs between Podziemski and second-year center Quinton Post. Given the league's increasing emphasis on size and versatility, it wouldn't be surprising if Podziemski spends more games coming off the bench than starting, though, as always in an NBA season, plenty can change before April. Production isn't the problem, it's the price tag. Despite an uncertain role, Podziemski has started strong. Through 5 games, he's averaging career highs across the board: 29.6 minutes, 12.2 points, 1.2 steals, and a blistering 42.3% from beyond the arc. Those are the numbers of a player earning serious consideration for a long-term investment. Still, if the Warriors don't see him as a locked-in starter by season's end, that hesitation could carry over into contract talks, and limit how aggressive the front office is willing to be when the time comes for an extension. The Warriors' strategic advantage. Golden State does have leverage. The front office isn't required to strike a deal right away. They could let Podziemski play out another season, making him a restricted free agent in 2027, the same approach they took with Jonathan Kuminga last summer. That situation was messy at times and dragged on for months, but it ultimately worked out for both sides. Kuminga re-signed on terms favorable to the Warriors, and he's now showing major growth early this season. Ironically, one of the reasons Podziemski's spot in the starting lineup isn't guaranteed. A stormy off-season awaits. If the Warriors choose to let Podziemski test restricted free agency, the 2026 offseason could turn into a whirlwind. Stephen Curry, Jimmy Butler, and Draymond Green could all hit the open market if they don't extend beforehand, setting up one of the most dramatic summers in franchise history. Golden State's decision on Podziemski may not just define his future, it could signal what direction the franchise itself is heading in as the Curry era slowly nears its final chapters. Warriors face growing dilemma after exercising Brandon Podziemski's contract option. By picking up the fourth-year option on Brandon Podziemski's rookie deal, the Golden State Warriors have secured the young guard through the 2026-27 season. The decision, while expected, doesn't remove the uncertainty surrounding his long-term future, and the ripple effects are already being felt inside the organization. Injury and recovery. Podziemski recently underwent surgery on his left wrist, his shooting hand, to address lingering discomfort that had bothered him since late last season. The team expects him to be fully recovered by training camp, but the procedure has sparked new questions about how this setback might affect his development and consistency moving forward. Even with his steady numbers and growing confidence, any sign of physical limitation could influence the front office's approach to his next contract. Rumors and uncertainty. Not long after the Warriors' playoff elimination, reports surfaced suggesting Podziemski might no longer be considered untouchable in trade discussions. Though he remains one of the most promising young players on the roster, his name has reportedly come up in early trade chatter as the team explores ways to retool around Stephen Curry. Complicating matters further is Golden State's financial situation. The Warriors once again find themselves deep in luxury tax territory, leaving little flexibility to make major moves or hand out expensive extensions. Balancing the desire to keep young talent like Podziemski with the need to stay competitive now will be one of the front office's biggest challenges this year. Measuring Podziemski's value. On the court, Podziemski continues to improve. So far this season, he's averaging 12.2 points, 1.2 steals, and shooting an impressive 42.3% from beyond the arc, career highs across the board. Yet questions remain about how high his ceiling truly is and whether he can maintain that level of production in a full-time starting role. For the front office, the question isn't just about performance, it's about timing and valuation. Offering a long, lucrative extension too soon could be risky if Podziemski fails to solidify his place in the starting lineup. But waiting too long could open the door for rival teams to make aggressive offers once he becomes a restricted free agent. Strategy and the bigger picture. How Golden State handles Podziemski's situation could reveal a lot about the franchise's broader direction. The Warriors are caught between two timelines, competing for championships with their aging core, Stephen Curry, Draymond Green, and potentially Jimmy Butler, depending on his contract, and preparing for life after the dynasty fades. In that sense, Podziemski represents more than just a young talent. He's a symbol of the franchise's delicate balancing act, staying competitive in the present while quietly building toward the future. If the Warriors choose to invest in him now with a significant extension, it would signal real belief that Podziemski can be a cornerstone of the next era in San Francisco. But if they opt to wait and let him test restricted free agency, it would reflect a more cautious, financially flexible approach, one focused on preserving options for larger roster moves. Either way, the coming off-season promises to be a defining one. The decision on Brandon Podziemski's future isn't just about a contract, it's about the direction the Warriors will take as they navigate the transition from the Curry era into whatever comes next.